Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. N. Srilata, Principal, FSC, TTWRDC, Suryapeta, Kodad. Today, I would like to deliver a small introductory lecture to medicinal chemistry. Medicinal chemistry itself deals with the drug, where usually when we uh, are infected or when we are subjected to any disease. So now let's get into the term disease. What is the actually the word disease means? It is a condition of a living being or any animal or a human being, any living thing, where the normal functioning is the normal functioning of the living being impairs. That is, it shifts. So at that situation, you can generally subject it or consider it as a disease. Right. Now let's go to the broad classification uh, of disease. Disease is broadly classified into the common and infectious. This we already have learned about this classification in our school days. So, common disease. What are the common diseases? Common diseases are the nothing but the disease which we usually encounter on and off in our daily entire life. That is whether it may be the headache or a normal fever, especially due to the seasonal changes, any cardio problem or something like that. So commonly, generally when you overread, you get a headache. So when your sleeps are not proper, you get a headache. So that is the thing. So that can be considered as a common disease. Infectious is the contaminations. It is contagious from one person to the other through different routes. Now the infectious is again broadly classified into insect borne, airborne, waterborne and hereditary disease, right? So coming to the insect borne is spread nothing but the name itself reflects as a spread through the insects, right? Again, this is two types, that is direct and indirect. Direct transmission is through infected contact with the infected person or contact directly through the soil, some of the microorganism through the fecal matter when it enters the soil, through that also. Coming next with the animal bites, as you know, rabies. Okay, so that is also, or any malarial insect. If rabies, it comes under animal, if you can treat it also, but like cc sandfly or something like that, malaria, mosquito, everything. So animal bites. And next the other thing which is coming into the direct transmission under the insect borne is transplantal is the AIDS. Example I would like to discuss is that AIDS. So such types of diseases come under the direct, whereas indirect is through the vectors. Vectors are nothing like generally we discussed was mosquitoes, cc fly and etc. And second one through the contaminated food and water, like the flies sitting on the like cholera, typhoid, amoebiasis and something like other diseases commonly which we know. Next is air transmitted, that is TB, and formite borne. So these are the broad classifications of the insect borne. Right. Coming to the airborne, waterborne. These you have already discussed in the like you already discussed and you already have a knowledge of the diseases. What is airborne disease is nothing but spreading through the air, through the common, like just present situation, that is corona, through the air up to 3 kilometers of the infected person or the infected area with the virus. It is commonly encountered. The number of victims are more. So that is through the microorganisms spreading through the sneezing, through the droplets from the infected person through the air. Here air is acting as a medium, and once the droplets inhaled by or unknowingly or knowingly, when it enters the body of the healthy person, definitely that also reflects into the uh, healthy person's body to be infected, right? Like common cold also, pneumonia, not only corona, common cold also, pneumonia are examples which we can discuss in the airborne. Coming to the waterborne disease. Waterborne disease is nothing through the contaminated water. Generally, when we go for a pilgrims or any bandaras or something, the water contaminated with the fecal or the animals bathing in the rivers and seas, etc. So definitely where there the risk of the waterborne disease, generally the amoebiasis, cholera are the common thing which are spread through the waterborne. Next, coming to the hereditary diseases. Hereditary diseases is nothing but the generations to generations in one particular family, like the Queen Elizabeth, something like that. So if one particular family is suffering from sickle cell anemia or hemophiliasis or something like the cystic fibrosis, so that is continued in that particular family itself, not the other families or not the other DNAs. So wherein the daughter may be the carrier or itself as a victim here, and sons also may act as generally the sons are prone to such type of diseases. Like if the grandfather is having, then it is reflected in the grandson. So the between generation, that is the between the grandson and the grandfather, the between generation, that is the father or the mother, they act as a carriers. So this is hereditary diseases. These all I'm just rushing up because these classification part we already have mainly the biological students have already have an idea through their schooling and intermediate. They have already studied. They generally apart from the MPCs, the BIPC BZC or MBZC students are well aware of these examples. So I just want to focus on the latter part. So coming on to the next slide, after discussing the broad classification of the disease, now let's go to the drugs. When we go for a medical shop, when a doctor prescribes a medicine, we go for a medical shop and ask for that particular drug. Then what do you see? I myself have encountered that sometimes the particular doctor, whatever the drug he prescribes, that is not available in the market. Instead, the other trade name with the same composition, the other like if it is a crocin, I get a Dolo or something like that, paracetamol. So overall, so we get confused. The normal man gets confused. What is this? We just think a little bit that doctor has given this particular medicine or this particular trade name, so I have to purchase that any cost that particular same drug instead of going for the same formulation with the other name, other product name. So that is the importance of the nomenclature. Why I am focusing here, why I am discussing the nomenclature of drugs here, because though the composition of all the whether it may be the paracetamol or the crocin or whatever it is, the composition and the bindings, everything remains the same, but the company name is different. So the doctor generally, what does he do? The medical representative, whoever approaches him, he definitely prefers that particular chemical representative's trade name. So he writes the same medicine. But when you go in the medical shop, you get a different thing. So what you have to decide, you have to check through the prescription, the formulation, whether the formulation is same, the dosage is same, everything is same, then you can blindly go for that. So here the pharmacist or the person with a very good chemistry background can act accordingly, whether to go purchase that particular medicine or go for the one which the doctor himself has prescribed. Generally, if some multi speciality hospitals or something like that, the doctors prescribe the medicines which are available in the same pharmacy. Once you move out of the multi-speciality pharmacy stall outside, you won't get that particular medicine with the same name. Instead, you get a different name, trade name, but same formulation. There, the individual hesitates. So, whatever the cost, he purchases at the multi-speciality pharmacist stall itself, shop, medical shop itself. So, don't go for that. So here we discuss the nomenclature of the drug, the importance of here it is. So here the nomenclature is broadly classified into three, that is the chemical name, generic name and trade name. Chemical name. Chemical name here is, for example, I have taken a small, a simple drug so that it is easy for you. Here it is para-acetyl aminophenol. That is the chemical name. The chemical students, the chemistry students are well aware of that, but not about the common man. Right. That it's a generic name. Generic name is the common name. What do you generally call it as? Paracetamol. The same thing is the paracetamol. The trade name, the company which gives a name, because it is not on and off, it is not easy for the common man to the educated uneducated people or small kids or something like that. They are unable to remember the chemical name or the generic name. It is better we give a small nickname like or a trade name, so that easily they can carry on the business. So the trade names are given by the company, it decides it. So just like we have a nicknames, so the same thing. So here also the crocin or the other names, whatever it is, metacin or something, the other names whatever coming to the market, it depends upon the companies. But ultimate formulations is the same thing. So that is the beauty here. In a way you can say that unless you are well aware of the drug, you or me sometimes get misguided. So that is the thing. Now coming to the, we have discussed a lot on the nomenclature of the drug. Let's go into the drug classification. Here drug classifications, this is the main thing which we need to deal it with. Here drug classification again is broadly classified depending upon the chemical structure and therapeutic action. Chemical structure. Here the chemistry students' role is very much important, as because the students who are very much interested in chemistry, like going for taking their career as a pharmacy or something like that, they have to more focus on this particular name. So here, like research oriented, the drug classification is mainly like gives an idea of research oriented type based on the chemical structure and therapeutic action. So coming to the chemical structure, what are the main thing? What are the what one thinks plays a main role for the therapeutic activity of the drug? That is nothing but the main functional group and main skeletal group. Suppose a functional group has, like, what are the functional groups? You all know there are many functional groups like aldehydes, ketones, phenols, amines. These are all biologically active compounds. That is, they have some medicinal therapeutic use when taken care of a proper reaction, when taken care of proper protective agents, blocking and then deprotecting them, and synthesizing a proper drug, though those functional groups are shown to have a high medicinal activity and therapeutic activity. So that plays a vital role, what are the, as I've already said, alcohols, phenols, amines. So OH groups or NH2 groups, suppose paracetamol. In paracetamol structure, what is that? OH group. OH group at a para position is playing a main role in its therapeutic activity. For example, I am discussing, coming to the main skeletal group. Skeletal group means the structure, the backbone of the compound, like pyrimidine, purine, any heterocyclic atom, if it is present, definitely it reflects in the biological active, like purines. So these are all, whether like in a benzene ring, you have all the carbon atoms in that particular skeleton. So when you replace one of the carbon with an nitrogen or sulfur or oxygen or something like that, definitely that reflects in a biological active, that is heteroaromatic compounds do have the what do you say, medicinal values. Coming to the therapeutic action classification, here they based upon the activity, for what purpose the drugs are used. They are used for the chemotherapy. The drug mainly the drugs used are chemotherapy, therapies, psychotherapies, pharmacodynamics, and inhibitors. So these are the things. These are the broad classification depending upon the therapeutic action, like on what particular part. Suppose if it is psychotherapeutics, what do you all think it acts on? It acts on the CNS, central nervous system. So on the drugs which act on the central nervous system of a particular living being, they are categorized under psychotherapeutic. Chemotherapeutics, which are generally having the chemical nature and are mainly acting upon infectious or something like that. So the the common drugs which come under chemotherapeutics are antibiotics, antibacterial, and antifungal drugs, etc. These all come under the chemotherapeutics. Whereas psycho, as I've already said, it acts on the central nervous system, which controls the brain and hypothalamus. It saturates the dysfunctioning of the hypothalamus. So the drugs which come under these are analgesics, antipyretics, and hypnotics. Hypnot generally used when a person is severely affecting with the depression. Pharmacodynamics. Here you come. Here the drugs which come under these are diuretics, vasodilators, and antiasthmatics. The name itself reflects that the patients are suffering from the cardiac and urinary infections, respiratory problems, or gastrointestinal problems. Generally, GI, gastric problems generally are categorized under pharmacodynamics. Inhibitors. Next classification is inhibitors. Inhibitors, here the inhibitors, the drugs which come under these categories are anti-diabetic, anti-inflammatory, anti-giotic drugs. That is anti-giotic thyroid, resembling to the thyroid. So now already we have discussed what is what is the disease, what is the broad classification of the disease, and the drug nomenclature, drug classification. Now coming to the ADME. What is the meaning of the ADME? This is the main thing. These four letters plays a vital key role in the entire curing of a disease. A stands for absorption, D stands for distribution, M stands for metabolism, and E stands for the excretion. That is, when you take in a drug, it has to itself bind with the target organ or the cells with that at the target organ. For that, it has to get absorbed properly, reach the target place, location, get absorb itself very well, and it distribute itself the thing, the chemicals, whatever the chemical or whatever the drug, it has to be properly distributed through the entire infected or the target area. Then the metabolism of the in a way what you say, fighting between the infected thing and curing whatever it is, the entire metabolism you can say, the entire and then the remaining should be excreted out of the body, because anything unexcreted is again hazardous or the poison to the living being, human. So once the target is completed, what is the target? When you take in a medicine, it has to go at that particular position or at particular organ where the infection or the disease is there. It has to absorb properly, the tissue, the drug should be absorbed properly, distributed through the bell distribution also. Then the proper fighting or the inhibition of the metabolism should be done. Then the unreacted or the unwanted drug, whichever is present in the body, should be excreted at a right time and at a right time. It right intervals, it has to be excreted out. Suppose a simple example, as a simple routine thing which you might have encountered in your life, I would like to discuss here. As you all said that, as I've said that, when you visit a doctor, he gives a prescription like this particular tablet or this particular drug has to be taken thrice a day. Why? Can any one of you all have an idea? Okay, let me do it fast. Because the activity, the lifespan of that particular drug is limited to so many hours. The moment you take it in, orally or through injection, it depends. It from half an hour to 10 to 5 to 5 minutes to half an hour, 30 minutes. It depends upon the solubility. So here drug absorption again is indirectly depend upon the concentration, solubility and surface area and the vascularity of absorbing surface area. So here the concentration, suppose if a paracetamol or something is there, it is 500 mg. Dolo it is 650 mg. What is this mg? It is nothing but the concentration. The higher the mg, the more the concentration of the drug. So if it is a higher concentration, then the drug intervals between like it may be 2 times a day. If the drug dosage is small, then it is thrice a day or 4 times a day. Generally for the small children, we never go for a physician, we go for the pediatrician. Why? Because the system, the immune system or their body system or whatever it is completely different when compared to an adult. So generally pediatrician is a trained specialist doctor, especially for the infants, wherein he gives a minimum dosage or minimum formulation of a drug such that the body slowly absorbs. The infant body is such a thing that it takes in, it is ready to adapt everything, but indirectly everything it can take it, but in later cases that can become a poisonous. As I've already said, that excretion of unwanted drug is also important, because otherwise it is the worst case, the vice versa, it can itself becomes a danger. So that is the thing. So depending upon the dosages, depending upon the minor thing, the doctor prescribes. So the absorption depends upon the solubility. How, suppose if it is a Disprin tablet, we see in an ad like it displaces within 5 to 10 minutes. But the other tablets it takes. So absorption depends upon the solubility, concentration, surface area and vascularity of the absorption surface area. And this the next coming to the distribution is again of two types, already known as active transportation and passive transportation. As active transportation requires specific carriers to immediately deliver that particular drug to the target organ or the target infected area, and passive slowly through the through the membrane it moves on. It is facilitated by the concentration of the gradient across the membrane, so it is slowly when compared to the active transportations. Coming to the metabolism is the in what do you say, finding of the action that the drug and the infected organ or the in a disease goes on, and then excretion ultimately through the fecal or the urinaries. Next, coming to the routes of administrations. What are the different routes? As you, this is also well known, not going into detail. Let's discuss in short. Routes of administrations is again broadly classified into two types: local and systemic. Local again topical route, deep tissue and arterial, whereas coming to the systematic it is oral, buccal or sublingual, that is also through the mouth itself, rectal, cutaneous, that is through the skin, through the injections, inhalations like Vixilin or something like that through the nasal route, tubes or something like that. Next, parenteral route, that again which is divided into subcutaneous, intravenous, intervenous and intradermal. These are all injections which are given to the muscle through the two veins or through inter or something like that, different routes of the injections. Okay, these are the things like doctors sometimes give to the hip, or sometimes they give to the hand, and sometimes they give to the intravenous like IVs. Whenever you taken salines or something medicated things, when you are admitted as an inpatient, you do encounter all these type of route of administrations. Generally outpatients, only oral. Right. So already we have discussed the type of drugs. What is the thing? Now let's a simple thing. Let's go into the synthesis. Being a chemistry students, I would like to discuss a small synthesis method for sulfanilamide, which is sulfanilamide or sulfonamide. It both means the same, as I've already said you all. It is nothing but para-amino-benzene sulfonamide. The IUPAC name is para-amino-sulfonamide, amino-benzene sulfonamide. So in short known as sulfonamide. This is thing where here we discuss the synthesis part. It is simply it can be in olden days it was simply synthesized from benzene on nitration. What is a nitration mixture? Concentrated nitric acid and sulfuric acid, the mixture of both the acids at a particular temperature. You get a nitrobenzene compound. As we have taken the benzene, any substitution can be possible. You can't define it at ortho parameter unless the substituent is present. So you get a nitrobenzene on reduction at a particular temperature. There are many reducing agents, but using tin in HCl, you just get nitro compound reduced into the amine. The benzene with amino group is nothing but an aniline. Aniline, when subjected to the concentrated sulfuric acid, a sulfonyl group is added at a para position. Okay, a sulfonyl group can be added at the para position. So you get as para-amino-benzene sulfonic acid. What is that? SO3H sulfonic group is attached at the sulfonyl group is attached at para position. So now we are subjecting it with the chlorinating agent. The acid sulfonic group is on subjecting with the chlorinating agent you get sulfonyl what Cl. H is replaced with Cl. What is going out? HCl. So you get SO2Cl, which again when subjected to ammonia, concentrated ammonia. So Cl again, what is the living group? Again HCl is again a living group. Then you get a amine group at a sulfur SO2 NH2 group. So Cl is leaving as HCl, and it is SO2 group is aminated, and ultimately on the product which you are getting is sulfonamide. So this is a simple thing from benzene, right? All the simple reaction, that what are the reactions involved? First is the nitration, then is the reduction, then again followed by acetylation. This is acetylation of here. Acetylation of amine group is in order to protect the NH2 group. It is very sensitive during this drug preparations. Generally the amine groups or OH groups are being protected with the protecting agents. Bog groups or like acetyl groups, these are the protecting groups which protect the amine. Later on they are again deprotected, like they are removed, and we get back the amine as such. So there are two different methods which are again prepared for the preparation of sulfonamide. Okay, next coming to the therapeutic uses. Therapeutic uses of the sulfonamide group, as you all know, it is used as an anticonvulsant and dermatological drugs, diuretics, antiretroviral, hepatitis C antivirus, anti-diabetes stimulus, antibacterial agent. So generally the sulfonamide vastly versatile drug, mainly used as an antibacterial drug. When compared to the other drugs, it is generally because bacterial infections are on and off used. So that is the thing which is used. Okay, thank you all. I hope you all have understood. I just want to get into the brief introduction to the what is the drug disease, what is the nomenclature, and I thought of dealing one of the synthesis for the drug synthesis. So the commonly used or administered drug is sulfonamide for the antibacterial. Thank you all. Hope you all understood it. Thank you.